Hi,
Oh,
Josh.
wait, we can get live take. Josh,
What's up?
I want to do a debate, kind of, but not really. So on the live stream recently, you said that like ideally you should like what you're doing so much that you're working like 18 hours a day or something, right?
Yes, I do believe that.
On one hand, I agree because I guess if you like it that much, then like why want to do anything else?
Yeah,
But part of me is like, I don't want to what is it? Live to work. Want to work to live.
Yeah, I suppose that's a
See,
preference.
this is where the conversation would get real productive and lots of good. Yeah, I'm down for it for sure. Let me get my camera on. Actually, let me make my bed. Shit.
I do want to talk about that a bit more because I have a bit of stuff I want to get people's opinions on as well.
You're American.
Tom,
you're
don't
gonna
get me
work for it.
wrong, but there's times I just don't feel like doing shit on Blender. It's just most of the time I do.
So
you're saying you like the 18 hours is because you just, you wouldn't like you like it so much that it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, sometimes like the video editing aspect with YouTube, I hate. I do not like editing videos,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
It's so boring.
I hate editing.
But I have
Same.
to do it. I can't hire someone right now, so.
right, I just want to come in here quickly and say, Kev, you know our chat last week with James and Michael?
Yeah.
It was a really cool chat. I really liked it, but I messed up
Likewise.
the recording.
Did you?
I messed it up. It's unusable.
That's okay.
Oh,
What was
happens.
lost?
Well,
What happened?
all of the audio except for me. Now, because usually I check the recording beforehand, and I think I did, but for some reason, like when I checked afterwards, the device just wasn't active, and I was like, no, like every single time we've done it, I've always done like a test recording to make sure it works. But
It happens.
It just didn't. Never mind.
What are you gonna do? It happens. I mean,
Yeah.
you're taking this all on yourself. Like, I'll do some editing for this too. Like, I can't record with this setup right now, but until I can get some kind of background for my other machine where I can, hook up the camera there. But
Yeah. Oh well.
I mean,
It's a good thing I
well-
recorded a bonus BlenderNest, so
Oh yeah.
nothing's lost. People can watch me eat Burger King.
Yeah.
that's
beautiful.
awesome,
Thank
man.
God.
I did just
Oh,
have.
thank God for that.
I just had McDonald's before this, and I was thinking, oh, like I should bring that up here, but nah. I
We
didn't
should
really.
all do one. Everybody does a different fast food thing.
Like, I'm so pissed about McDonald's and Burger King. I love Burger King way more than McDonald's, and Burger King doesn't have those chicken McNugget things or chicken nuggets or anything like that for my kids, and my kids will only eat chicken nuggets. They won't eat burgers. And so yesterday we passed by a Burger King. I'm like, you just get Burger King. It's like cheap, and I'm just like remembering the $3 thing that you keep, you keep talking about. And I'm like, oh my God! Like we'll say. So we went up to McDonald's. Ended up spending like $40.
How do you
I'm
manage
like-
to spend 40 in McDonald's?
40 in McDonald's, family of 4, and I'm like,
Jeez.
this is ridiculous. Like I could have just gone to Burger King and spent like 20 something.
That's crazy. How much food do you have to buy for? Like, I think the double cheeseburger said was like $150 something alone.
Well, yeah, I got a double quarter pounder was like $7.
Yeah, the
I'm like-
big hamburgers are like 7 to 10, depending on what you get.
Yep. It's like I'm like, what am I even getting? And I opened it up, and it's like tiny, and I'm like, this is stupid. Like I'll just go. I should go to In-N-Out. We passed an In-N-Out on Sunset. I should have just gone there.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Or just get a McChicken for $1.
Yeah, chicken for $1 is
That's
awesome.
what I always do.
I know. Like we haven't eaten out since this pandemic thing started, really, and we just happened to have to go out yesterday, and we're just like, oh, I don't feel like cooking. Let's pick something up. And it was like $40 later. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, forget it. I'm just cooking from now on. No McDonald's. Burger King's cheaper though.
Yeah.
3 for 3.
Yeah.
I know,
3
3
for
for 3.
3.
I know.
$3.21 where I live, but almost $3.
Yeah, you kind of scammed your
almost worth it.
viewers on the video.
Yeah.
Left out the extra.
Well, it's because of the sales tank. You go to New Hampshire, probably is $3.
Yeah, because they live free or die in New
They do.
Hampshire.
They do. I went there recently. Nobody wears a helmet. It's not just a meme. They just don't wear
Yeah.
helmets.
Yeah, they're a bit they're a bit different.
Josh,
Oh yeah,
hold
no
on.
masks
But
there
Vermont
either.
is like
Yeah.
Vermont is a total flip from them. It's really ridiculous because the states kind of like do this on the map and like they're kind of like inverted 180 and like politically they're inverted 180 too. It's kind of bizarre.
Josh, how's the course release doing?
Really good, actually. I was surprised. This is on Gumroad. In one day, we made more sales on the weapon course than we have on the crate total.
Damn.
That's so good.
Which
Wow.
I guess people just really like weapons,
Yep.
or people really liked our last course, and then I don't know. It's doing well. Probably like I don't know what we're at on Gumroad right now. I think we just hit like 6K total sales or something. It's not bad, but we're
Whoa.
splitting it. So
That is really good.
Whoa.
Mm.
Not
Yeah,
bad, man.
The fuck?
Not bad at
6K.
all.
yeah, we were surprised, and ideally a payout. It probably took us to make the course on my end. Probably took for everything recording. Around 100-ish hours. Maybe a little bit more with the editing because the editing was boring. So the ideal payoff is what you take your hourly rate to be if you were to do a regular job, and then just adjust accordingly. So I think the payout is good, but that wasn't the main goal. The main goal just because it was a fun course to make,
Yeah.
and helps pay the bills. So it was a good release, and I think we made the price fair as well.
Are
Yeah,
you saying $6,000 or 6,000 products?
Dollars total, yeah.
Okay,
But that was 2 days ago. It's not
that's still
terrible.
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Mm.
Yeah, it's not bad. But our next plan, actually, I don't know if we want to announce the next plan yet. It's kind of a secret.
Yeah, don't
We don't want
lock
anyone
your,
to steal it yet.
yeah, don't lock yourself into a promise too early.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So
It'll be announced soon.
yeah, Erin. By the way, how are the Blender battles going?
They're going great, actually. It's been rebranded to Blender Royale, and we're going to be doing like smaller teams. So before they've been like 10, 12 people, gets 6 minutes each back to back to model us, like add something to the model.
Mhm.
But now we're going to do teams of 3 or 4. So it's going to like randomly pick a team leader, and then each team leader can pick 2 people to work with. So it's going to go round a little bit more, and it's going to be more of an actual competition. So yeah, people have really liked doing them though. They're really good fun. They
Yeah,
get pretty
awesome.
hectic.
yeah. I was in the
Yeah.
voice chat in my server, I think yesterday or the day before, and there was someone in there, basically advertising it, saying, "Oh yeah,
Oh,
I did
really?
this, yeah, I did this. I took part in this Blender battle. Oh my god, it's so nerve wracking. You have no idea until you do it." And I was like, "Yeah, it's bad."
You did it. You were in the first one.
Yeah, it's quite fun. How many people do you get doing it now?
Like 12 or 15 people.
Mm.
It's only been enough to do it. Or like, it's too many to do more than one round, because otherwise it's going to take like 3 hours.
Yeah,
So, and you're just watching, really,
yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah, it is quite fun as well. And like, even doing that first one, you don't realize you start slipping up on the smallest things as soon as you're being watched. It's
Yeah.
quite funny.
Yeah.
Do you record
It's
these
cool as well.
things?
Stephen Scott does. He's another YouTuber, Scottish guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's great. He's quite vocal.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
one way to put it.
Yeah, that's a good server you have. I've been in and out of there except for the last like couple of weeks. I've been slammed with work. I've been going into the office for I don't even know. Like probably 3 weeks now actually.
Oh, so you're
And,
back in
I-
there full time?
I'm back. Yeah, full time right now. Hopefully we'll get another project I can do from home, but this has just been wearing me down.
Mm-hmm.
Like driving all the way out there. I used to be able to just jump. We had a carpool, so I could just jump in the carpool and sleep and go to work, and then now it's just it's crazy. I've been
How
barely
far
up for
from-
air.
How far from the
Oh,
office do you live?
About 20 miles or so, but it's like it's still like the traffic is much lighter, but the people are going crazy on the roads now. It's kind of like
Mhm.
Mad Max. It's like anarchy.
Oh,
Like
it's
people know
LA.
Mm.
yeah, it's LA. They know they can get pretty much get away with doing anything on the road now. So it's just been outrageous. like it's been like a battle trying to get to work and back. It's been very draining. And then in work wearing the mask the whole time and always thinking, all right, I'm in an air conditioned office. Like, where's the virus? It's like, I've been worn down physically, mentally, but I'll be back.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'll poke my head in. I love your server. You got some awesome people in there, man. It's fun.
It's been getting
It's good.
bigger and bigger. So
I
You just send me an
see
invite.
that.
I don't think I'm in it.
Yeah,
I'll send you one right now.
it's a good server. It's very active. I think the last conversation I had was about like heavy metal with some dude. I was like going on for like 20 minutes on like different heavy metal bands. It was awesome.
By the way, I want to ask Erin, how did you have the heat wave up where you were? Like, did it affect you much?
Yeah. Oh my god. I don't
crazy.
do heat very much because I've
Yeah.
spent my whole life in the north of England. So my cap is like 24 degrees. Like, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, sorry. But like, that's slightly warmer than room temperature is about the limit of what I can handle.
70s. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was going to like 28.
Oh god, yeah.
I just couldn't breathe.
It got to about 37 where I am Celsius, which is I don't know 90 something Fahrenheit or getting up to 100. I'm
that's
not
hot.
sure.
98.6
Yeah.
default
So
temperature.
that was the
It's
hottest
body
it got
temperature.
when it was humid as well. And I don't know why, but there's just this bubble here where I am on the Thames, where even when the rain came in, like it started storming, the country's flooded, like in several areas. Nothing here. Like I was on the phone to my dad on the other side of London, and apparently it was just flooding it down, just like pouring, lightning, everything. But here, just a few miles away, like clear skies and nothing. UK has very weird temperature. I saw an article that passed through Reddit that said the reason why we have such chaotic weather is because we're part of like 5 different weather systems that are like colliding and interacting. So I guess that's why. But yeah, it was hotter than Cairo on that day briefly,
Whoa.
which is weird.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, but thankfully it's flushed out a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So have you not had any storms?
Not specifically where I am, no. But I know that just a few miles south, they were having like lightning strikes and stuff. Because I could check on, there's the lightning map website, and you can see it's like this whole line going round, and we're just like a blob where nothing is happening. So I could. The worst it got is I could hear it. If you listened out the window, you could hear a slight rumble, like from down south. But we never got anything specifically here. It's weird.
It was like tropical storm up here. Like it would be boiling hot all day, and then it would get to about 9 p.m. and the sky would go like a really weird pink color. And then for like 2 nights in a row, it was literally like lightning flashes 2 or 3 times a second for like 2 hours.
Oh,
it was
whoa.
ridiculous.
We
It
really
was
wanted
crazy.
that. Like me and my mum were like, it's too humid. It's too hot for the hamster as well. We brought it upstairs and had it like in a super fanned room because it would just like lay out like outside of its house, like
So cute.
So we were like, we need a storm, like a proper like a torrential Floridian storm. We want one.
Oh man.
I don't know if you want that. I have a story for yesterday after you're done.
Well, but I love it. Like I love rain. And what they call it, like a pluviophile, I think they call it. Someone that just like loves rain. You can just sit out in it. So I really wanted it, but we just didn't get any. So it was so disappointing. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's been raining probably 2 weeks straight here. It's like super hot half the day, and the rest of the day it just rains. Yesterday was my mom's birthday, so I was going home for dinner. And it was sunny at my apartment, but then when I was driving home, it was like it might as well have been a hurricane. It was just torrential downpour. I don't think I've driven in worse conditions than what I was in yesterday. Like,
whoa.
Here's my eyesight. I couldn't see more than like a foot in front of me. It was terrible. And then I was on the highway as well. I saw an overturned car that must have just hit the barrier because the road curved. So they must have just hit the barrier from the angle it was at and just couldn't see it. I'm driving, I'm going like 35 or 40 on the highway like everyone else. And there's just this big puddle of water collection. I couldn't even see it because it was pouring. I hit it. I couldn't see anything. I accepted that I was just about to run into the barrier and just screw up my car. By some miracle, I didn't hydroplane or slide or anything. And then there was lightning just shooting everywhere around the road, just bolts of lightning. It was the most terrifying driving experience I think I've ever had.
Damn.
My heart was
End of the
pounding
world.
faster than as if someone was like attacking me. I was probably more scared of that than I was, an actual threat.
Wow.
Yeah, we've had
It was
like a little bit of experience with storms in Florida over the however many odd years we've been going, but I swear, like even the raindrops in like Floridian storms are bigger like than here, because here it's like rain. It's a bit cold and it's like pat 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 pat. Oh, that's annoying. But there, like the rain water can be warm and like you really feel it when it hits. And we've had to stop a few times on the freeway when it's been raining, but I don't know. I like it because it's exciting. Because when you're inside, most of the time you don't really get to experience it. But when you're out there and something biblical is happening, I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You
it's
want-
true.
I've been in a number of those.
You want to be in like a van or a tent or something when it's properly coming down, and it just makes it so loud. Like you get out of the tent and it's like, oh, it's just spitting, but inside it's like the world is ending.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so the conversation that we started right when people were joining, the living to work or working to live one.
Mhm.
I want to develop on that a little bit more because it's quite
That's a
interesting.
good one.
I feel like CG has some extra thoughts about that
Okay.
as well.
I'm
Yeah,
done
get
with my pretzels. Okay. Long story short, I'm of the philosophy you need to find a way to minimize the amount of work you're doing. Find the absolute minimum you need to get by. Free up every other minute other than that. And that's it. I mean, that's the stance. Doesn't get much more complicated than that.
I have a hard disagreement on that.
Yeah.
Because it's. Well, let me ask you this. In all that extra free time you give yourself, what do you plan to be doing with it? A hobby?
For me personally, a hobby. Yeah.
Sleeping? Okay. And in my case, that hobby would just be 3D or traveling. I like those equally. I can't travel now though because of COVID, but I mean that's I see what you mean, but for me that hobby would just be 3D. So it's like it kind of doubles up on each other. The work and then the hobby from the free time I have is all going to be 3D or Blender.
But is the
right?
hobby like 3D or is it making like 3D tutorials, right? Or
I like making
courses or whatever it
tutorials.
may be.
Yeah. Honestly, I think we all get in moods where we like really want to record something and then we just record. And then there's just moods where we just want to sit and, Curtis might program or model or whatever, It just depends on the mood you're in, really. Sometimes it's making videos or recording a course or just sitting, listening to music and modeling.
I think I'm like halfway in between the two of you, or like not halfway, but like a combination of them. Because I think doing the least amount of work, like knowing that you have the money, but to get that money from doing your hobby, like having a profitable hobby, even if that's like bending your hobby slightly to make a course, if that's going to bring you enough money to pay rent, then it's still, I definitely don't think you should sort of surrender yourself to like working in a shop if that's not conducive to what your like life plan is.
I've been struggling a little bit with this this year because like everything I want to do in terms of making stuff is, well, I do it because I want to do it, right? Like you enjoy making 3D artwork, so you spend all your free time doing it, and then you can siphon that off and make videos about it. But just because you're interested in everything, you have so many ideas for projects you want to do, but now every time you start working on them, you look at it through the lens of how can I utilize this for YouTube content? And I'm having trouble with that because a lot of the projects I want to do can't be easily utilized for YouTube content, so I choose not to do them and do things that can be utilized instead. So now I have like a list of projects that I want to do, but require like a certain amount of time investment that probably would bring in, you know, maybe a lot of money further down the line, but I just don't want to work on them because the YouTube would stagnate and like people might lose interest. So I'm having trouble weighing up these interests now, because now I feel like even though the things I make for the videos are things that I'm still interested in, I can't make personal work anymore because it feels like everything I do is now being fit into that. Okay, well, this is going to go on YouTube, you know. So I'm like trying to weigh up things, and I'm feeling like I need to have a certain separation now between my like personal creative projects and the videos I make. So I have been experimenting over the last few weeks with doing different types of content like the news videos and stuff. And that has actually been really good, because I thought, well, the first time I do one, people are going to hate it because they think, oh, why don't you do a tutorial? You know, this is just lazy. But surprisingly, the reaction on one or a couple of the news videos has been better than some of the other tutorials in terms of like viewership and stuff. So I'm like, actually, even though it takes like 5% of the effort, it's still worthwhile from like a, you know, keeping the YouTube sustained point of view. So I'm thinking that I would try and ease the workflow a little bit. As you're saying about putting in the smallest amount of effort, I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to make the job easy or I'm trying to put less effort into it. But I'm feeling like I'm probably going to put more time into doing the easier videos just to free up my thinking space for doing projects for myself, if that makes sense. I don't know, like, if anyone has any sympathies with that or whether they've struggled with anything like that. I don't know, but it's something that I'm still just trying to figure out.
Yeah, I've been making pretty easy videos from the start. Honestly, like if you look at like my entire channel, it's just, this is like stuff that it's like byproducts of other things that I've done in my career. It's not been like, with the exception of a couple where I'm like, oh wow, I actually really, you know, did a deep dive and found like something that was really, really cool and merged it with something else. Like it's just been kind of like, you know, not the low hanging fruit stuff, but it's been like relatively easier stuff that you know, if I tried to do the more like academic stuff, it would just take so much more time, and I don't know that I would ever be able to actually pull it off. Like outside of a dedicated time that I would allot to creating a course for like something like Houdini or even like, you know, harder Blender stuff, which I've done a lot more, you know, difficult stuff in Houdini than I have in Blender, just because my day job is, you know, Maya and Houdini, which mostly Houdini right now, but it's immaterial. Like I understand what you're saying. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like you have to really dedicate a lot of time to like pulling out that heavy academic stuff and then figuring out how to teach it to people. And then knowing that your viewership, like it's kind of like the higher the technical stuff, the lower the viewership goes. And like the more like simplistic stuff, the higher it's just so bizarre. I don't understand my audience. I mean, I'd love to, but I look at the data and I'm like, I don't even know like who I'm speaking to right now.
Yeah.
I just put out stuff. I'm like, oh, this is cool. This might help somebody. All right, here you go.
Balancing
and it's like
up,
generally a byproduct. Yeah.
Balancing up what you want to make versus what you think people are interested in is tricky, and I feel like it's getting trickier now that, I mean, my rate of growth has sort of really dropped now because I'm just swapping content types all the time. No one can really latch on to like what the channel's about. But
yeah, same here.
Some things I've noticed, which is kind of frustrating, is that so one of my recent videos is one of the worst ones I've ever done, like in terms of viewership, which was like making meshes with Python in Blender. However, it got the best response any video has ever gotten on Twitter, and like was shared around the community. And I'm like, well, there's a discrepancy here. Like, sometimes you want to do things that are good for the community, but they're not necessarily good for YouTube, and vice versa. And I found that things that do well on YouTube don't always get the same response on Twitter. And so it's like, it's confusing, because if you're trying to make something that's good for everyone, it's hard to find a way to do that. And I'm kind of like asking myself the question now, like, okay, what type of content do you enjoy making? What's going to be the least stressful thing? And for me, the most stressful thing is tutorials. Because, like, first of all, you make something, you think, okay, well, I've got to prepare how I'm going to present that, then you've got to do it, and then maybe you have sponsors in that, and then you've got to edit it together, and editing's the worst thing, and it takes so much time that you would rather be spending on doing personal projects or something more fun. So I don't know, I feel like I'm gravitating more towards news and discussion videos, but again, I am a tutorial channel, so
I guess it depends what your like cost versus value and what your criteria for value is, because obviously don't spend what you don't get back, right? So if the value exceeds the cost, then go for it. But also it's identifying what your value is. So if something is getting loads of views and it's getting a really good response on YouTube because it's consumable, and if that's important, then that's great. And if you've got something which is like the Python one, which I think is fundamentally really useful, and I think people like they really learn something from that. And like the news ones are really great and they're really enjoyable to watch. But then the Python ones, you're just like, I don't know, like I've watched all of your Python ones like 4 or 5 times because every time I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to do this thing, and I just go back into it. So it's yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, just trying to figure it out. But it's interesting though, because there's been so many individual like mental things to try and figure out throughout the series of having the YouTube channel, and some of those things have been like codified in the discussion videos anyway. So I know this will probably be something I talk about on the channel further down the line anyway, when in a bit of a more sensible position with it. But yeah, just wanted to get some extra thoughts.
I mean, it boils down to time. I think I've kind of set the schedule. I'd much rather, do a bunch of 3D modeling and do less videos, but I like my set schedule of doing generally every 2 to 3 days release a video. And that's what most of my audience has liked. And as much as I sometimes don't feel like doing a video that frequently, I think the return on investment is worth it personally, because 1, I keep everyone engaged. 2, it's not that I don't want to do it, it's that it's not as motivating as I would just doing a generic 3D modeling session rather than spending a couple hours recording a video. And then and at the end of the day, because I'll work most of the day I'm on the computer. I'm not saying 16 hours a day I'm doing Blender, but for the most part of the day I'm doing that. Then I have to go to bed, and it's like I need to go to bed feeling like I've done something productive for the day. And if there's something I had on my mind, even if I didn't want to do it 100%, if I go to bed feeling like, man, I wish I did that, I'd rather just kind of bite the bullet and do it, whether that's for a video or something else. So that's another thing I struggle with personally. But the feeling of just getting it done kind of overrules the want to not do it sometimes. I'm not sure how much that related to what you said, but
no, it does. Like I guess at the end of the day, everyone's just looking for some kind of satisfaction as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people don't know exactly what gives them satisfaction in their work. Like they'll know what they think should give them satisfaction, but they don't know exactly what it is. And I think that's what I've been kind of struggling with, because I think, okay, well, I've made a tutorial channel and I've enjoyed doing a lot of tutorial videos. I don't think now that tutorial videos give me the most satisfaction in terms of types of content, but I've been trying to convince myself that they do, just because it makes sense, But yeah, I'm not sure about it. I mean, at the end of the day, I like making things, not making the videos about the things, I guess. So that's just the struggle.
I think people don't realize how long a video actually takes when they're consuming it as well. Like if you watch a 10-minute video, it's probably taken somebody like 8 or 10 hours to put it together, to cut it together, to plan it.
Yeah.
So
I've got Sorry, I've got a sponsored video for Sketchfab coming out. And I know I've done Sketchfab sponsors in like tons of my previous ones, but a dedicated sponsored one for them, so they're actually paying me more for once. But it's taken like 4 days to do, and it's only like just over 10 minutes. So it's just preparing stuff, but a lot of it is because I find the content's interesting, but the act of making the content is so goddamn boring. It's like you're just trying to psych yourself up just to do the recording for so long. That's what takes up the time. So Yeah.
Let me put it like this. Does anybody remember a long time ago I made a video where I just said the word Blender 28,000 times? And that's for the
Yes,
2.8
vaguely,
release.
yeah.
I'd rather
Yes.
do that, and that took like 6.5 hours. I'd rather do that than go through the whole editing process. I had more fun saying the word Blender 28,000 times.
Yes.
So yeah,
I do remember that video. I
it's
didn't
going to
watch the
happen
whole
again.
thing.
2.9, 29,000 times.
Yeah,
One thing
How do you
that
count
was
it?
What do you say?
How do you count it in your head?
I clicked it. I made a or I clicked the counter thing. So every time I said it, I clicked the mouse, and that was the counter.
Finger was probably like, "Give me a break."
Dude, my voice was dead. But such a good video. More people should watch it all the way through.
yeah.
Something I will say is because like all these conversations probably make aspiring YouTubers or tutorial makers maybe a little bit nervous, but they shouldn't be because it's all a very subjective thing.
I think it's like
It is.
a type as well. Like I really like making things in 3D, but more than that, I like teaching people 3D, and
Yeah.
making videos is kind of part and parcel with that. So I know that to get the value from teaching, I have to make the video.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm offsetting that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to like teaching 100%. Teaching is a huge passion of mine. So, without having to work in a traditional sense, YouTube allows me to have that outlet. That's why I love it.
I think.
Yeah, it's
Sorry, I was just gonna say. I think that like because I've been thinking about that. Do I really enjoy teaching? And I don't know if I do, but I'm not sure too much because I haven't done like any like one-to-one mentoring. I feel like when I do one-to-one, when I have done in the past with like friends and stuff, that's been pretty enjoyable. But not sure if I like it overall. I think I'm more enjoy talking about things rather than teaching things. Like just from a discussion perspective, entertaining hypotheticals, throwing them up into the air and doing that. So maybe that explains why I'm not too fond of doing tutorials as much as I used to be. Anyway, go on, Kev.
yeah, it's a weird dichotomy in your mind. When you start out, like for example, I started doing 3D because I thought it was really fun, and I was working at the time, and I bought a book on it or something. I can't remember. Like I started with True Space or Pavre, and then I had grown it from there, and I just did it because I loved it. And I would remember I was playing in a band at the time, and we would go and we'd play like CBGB or the Knitting Factory main stage or something, and like we'd have like this really big audience, and I would feel like, yeah, it's stupid to say, but I like feel like a rock star, right? And then I'd come home at like 2 a.m, stow all my gear, and the first thing I would do instead of go to sleep would be fire up the computer and start like jumping into 3D, and I would do that until like 6 a.m, and then wake up and keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And it was a passion. I mean, here I was like, teaching at the or I don't even know what I was doing at the time. I think I was like working in marketing at the time. And you just you find a hobby that you love, and then I was lucky enough to turn that into a job where I'm doing it all the time. And for the last, I don't even know, maybe 15 years solid, plus another 5 freelance. It's like I'm still doing it. I'm doing it all the time. And I realized like what I'd be doing as a hobby, like I'd either be like writing music, traveling, or playing with my kids, or doing 3D. And so like making that into a career is awesome. But then you do have those moments where you're like you're looking back, you're like, is this all I'm gonna do? Like, what else is there? What else do I want to do? And it's a weird feeling. And then when you start doing YouTube, you get an audience, and you feel like you have to keep serving the audience. And you want to keep serving the audience because 99% of that audience is awesome, and you want to keep helping people. And if you like teaching, that's great. I was able to teach for 4 years and turn that into a career. That was awesome. But and then I was somehow fell into photography and had that as a career for like 3 years, and back in animation now. And I'm like, this is, it's comes to kind of lifestyle. And I used to tell people that in the classroom too. I'm like, if you want to get into animation, it's a lifestyle. If you want to do 3D, you want to do visual effects, you want to do any of this stuff, it's a lifestyle. So if you guys are like lucky enough right now where you're young enough to to have YouTube be your primary income, or creating courses and selling those as your prime, that's awesome, man. That's like where most of us probably want to be.
Mm.
But when you start getting into the job, and then you upgrade your lifestyle, or you don't upgrade your lifestyle, but then you have a family which upgrades your lifestyle because you have to provide for the family, and you have bills to pay, and your bills like rise exponentially, you realize like, oh crap, I'd have to go to work. And to get to a certain point where the money is pretty good, to match that on YouTube is, I mean, that's a hustle. So if you guys can do that now, great.
Yeah.
But if YouTube goes away, if any of that happens, and you're gonna need to go get a job, it's gonna be a massive change. You're gonna want some production experience to be able to go and get that job too. So it's kind of it's catch-22. It's a double-edged sword. Does that make sense? Am I even making sense?
It
I'm
does.
listening to myself talk, and I'm like,
Because
I
I
don't
hear
know if I'm hitting it now.
Yeah. You have to be interested in the production field. I'm more interested in just making cool shit on Blender. And
Yeah, I am too. I love it. Yeah.
I think like I really want emotional reactions from people. I don't have a good way of explaining that, but I feel like one of the most satisfying things from life for me is getting emotional reactions from people. And say like one way to do that would be from making like short films or whatever, and then because you can visualize a feeling that they'll have, and then that gives you satisfaction. Tutorials can't give me that, because people watch tutorials for the educational value, or they want to use it just because they want to make something, and it's like it's consumed, it's gone. That's the exchange. But the discussion videos for me do give me that, because you come like people come to you and they leave like parts of their life story, and that you've actually left an effect. So I think I'm having a bit of like an existential moment here, where I'm thinking, okay, well, how do I take this like 10 years into the future? I don't really want to be making tutorials all that time. Like, it, because you get into a headspace when you do it, where you're just doing the same things over and over again. Like editing is the same thing over and over. It's the same procedure, and it's always in Blender, and you're always like cutting things out in the same way. And then like all that time would have gone by, and you feel like, okay, well, have I wasted that time? Like, sure, I've got like loads of views on these tutorials, but what kind of emotional, spiritual life satisfaction did I get out of that? And just like on Instagram, I had something interesting happen, which I haven't had happen before, which is where someone took a clip from one of my discussion videos and like put like hearts around it, and it was like a clip of me saying something that was inspirational, and they like put like, oh, I love you, Curtis, and stuff like that on the story. And I was like, that's really sweet. Never had that from a tutorial. So I don't know, I feel like I'm moving to a different type of content. That's essentially because it's more satisfying, and I think maybe more sustainable. I don't know, because another frustrating thing about making the Blender content is that things change so quickly now. I'm tempted to remove a couple of old videos because some of the stuff in there isn't perfectly accurate anymore. And so I'll get like comments every few days that like, oh, by the way, this doesn't work, or like, oh, this has changed, I have to do this as well now. And like you leave a little note in the description that says, oh, this is out of date, but people still don't read it anyway. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out that YouTube audience, because it really does, like, you could put all this time into a video, and then when it just bombs, you're like, why did I just waste that time? But when you do those, like, for my largest ones are some of the discussion ones where it's true, like that I did that, like, advice for new artists or whatever, getting into 3D, or it's like from 20 years or whatever. And it did really well. I'm like, well, this is great. And I got those like real life stories in my comments, and I'm like, this is really affecting people. This type of thing really helps people. And then the tutorials, my tutorials top out about 5,000 views, and I'm like, oh, that's great. I mean, for a lot of YouTubers, 99% of YouTubers, 5,000 views is awesome. But when I look at CG Matter, you put out a video and it's like 10,000 in the first hour. It's like,
yeah, it's mad.
It's like am I even reaching people? Like, does it even matter what I'm doing? Am I shouting into the void? And you start feeling that. You're like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
You know?
like I've been having some weird moments like that as well, and it's not really like envy, but it is like, am I doing something wrong? Because I have seen like the crazy view counts on some of your things, but then like at the same time, I've been stuck on like 60 something thousand subs for a while now. This is still enough
Mhm.
to make it a full-time job. Like there's nothing to complain about there. My Gumroad was having a particularly bad month or two recently because I haven't put like hardly anything new on it, or I haven't pushed it at all. That was really good couple of months at the beginning of the year, not so good now. So I put a sale on. Strangely, I think the same day that the Josh's course came out, and
I think I saw that actually. Yeah.
yeah, and like did really well the sale, like because it was getting really low, and then all of a sudden, whoa, like mad. You don't realize how many people are still there and like willing to interact, and
Yeah.
so I know that even if like the audience growth stopped now, provided that people were still interested enough, this is still a full-time job. Like if I just spent my time just making tools, there's people there with money that can sustain me. So you don't need to like maximize your growth, and you shouldn't worry about it too much, I don't think. But I do struggle with it a bit because I do want to grow, and even not necessarily for selfish like, oh, I want to have a big number to my name reasons, but because there are projects I want to do in the future that require a massive audience to work. And if you don't get there, then you'll never be able to see them come to life, you know? So there's a disappointment there. So
I think Kev brought up a good point earlier as well, because like the four of us are quite young, and then not that Kev isn't. And then,
what are you, Kev? Are you 30? Is that like
at most?
Yeah.
But he brought up that
I love you guys.
that you've got to support a family at some point.
Yeah.
You know what happened? Like I can probably sustain myself on 6,000 a year if I was really counting pennies. But there's no way that I could sort out like supporting another person with that, let alone like several.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And when you move to a place like Los Angeles, like I mean, I've grown up in inexpensive places. You know, I was living right on the outskirts of New York City before I came here. Like literally, I mean, it might as well have been New York City. I was right on the Hudson River, and it was expensive there. And when I moved out here, it was parity at the time. And then LA just like blew up in my time here, and has just gotten ridiculously expensive. And I mean, I think now it's probably going to level off because of coronavirus. But yeah, if you're in a you know, one of the big cities where all the jobs are, you're going to be paying a lot. It's your whole lifestyle upgrades. And it's not even because you're trying to be ostentatious with money or anything. It's just because everything costs so much more, you know? And I think a lot of you guys are probably in relatively expensive places.
Yeah.
You guys are in like cities.
I'm in London.
About 700 for rent and utilities. So whatever that's worth.
Wow.
Also, my power might go out. It's pouring.
Wow. Yeah, when I was in northern New Jersey, I was paying about 700. I was splitting it, so it was about 1,400 for a 2-bedroom, and it was a pretty big 2-bedroom. It was pretty nice. Los Angeles was about parity when I got out here back in 2006, and it's jumped. I don't even know the multiple. It's ridiculous.
A lot.
But hopefully that'll level off, because I think a lot of people end up leaving because they can't afford it anymore. It's like the Bay, you know, the San Francisco Bay Area, same way. And London is probably worse than all of it. I think London at one point was the highest in the world.
Yeah,
it was either like London or San Francisco were like tied or competing.
Yeah,
and New York City like always kind of goes up and down in there.
Mm-hmm.
Boston's not cheap either.
London's not anymore, but I think it was at one point. But of course, I think Corona is going to shake all this stuff up like a Yahtzee cup, you know.
Yeah. People are getting kicked out of LA. I was watching videos. There's like a housing crisis now, apparently. You know, people go there to chase their dreams, but now with COVID, they can't afford it.
Mm.
I was gonna take a picture yesterday. I drove past the Jim Henson Studios on La Brea, and it's so bizarre because you see like Jim Henson Studios. It's like this kind of like little Tudor-looking facade building, and there's like Kermit the Frog like tipping his hat up, and really cool. And you look on the sidewalk, and it's all tents, homeless
It's just it's
encampment.
sad.
It's like it's so sad. So like I'm busting my butt going to work, going into an office with COVID, just I'm keeping it going because the alternative it just sucks. So it's a different world we're in now. But if you can, the point is like if you guys can do the YouTube thing and make it work, and somehow figure out how to scale it or take on some freelance where you get some production experience. If this whole thing falls apart, then I say go for it. Do what you can. But it's like if the work to live versus live to work thing, it helps when you have, and I'm not saying this to get political or anything because I stay off politics. But if you have a place where you can get things like health insurance covered mostly, where there's still, you can still pay for extra health care if you want. But if you have that kind of taken care of, you might have higher taxes, but you might be able to make it work. That's awesome. If you have to pay for something like health insurance or health insurance, like in the United States, at least is tied to your employment, mostly. Yeah. It's a lot more. It's a lot difficult because you kind of feel like, especially if you grow, you have a family, or you have covered dependents, you kind of have to keep that going. You have to work somewhere to afford health insurance, or you have to make bank, either selling courses or doing whatever else you can, just so you can afford private health insurance, or can afford to just pay the doctor or the hospital whenever something happens. And you better hope it's not really big because those bills can be really insane. So it's a chess game. I mean, you're constantly playing chess with your life.
Yeah,
it's a bizarre world we're living in right now.
I watched a video of it was a British, I think, ex-military guy that was learning to fly, and he nearly died in a plane crash. I don't know if any of you have seen that video, but he's basically talking about it, and he had the crash in Florida, I think, actually. But he said, I think it was his first or second flight after like qualifying to fly alone, and it was nothing he did wrong. But he said that when he just got up in the air, he just saw flames by his feet, and he said there's not much you can do. But he said that he just remembers that his instructor said, in an emergency, whatever you do, just fly the plane. So he managed to get it low enough to jump out. He ended up like breaking so many things in his body. He was covered in flames, and if you look at him, he's got no hair. He's had reconstructions, but
oh my god.
He said, something completely unexpected like that. He had, I think, 60 something corrective surgeries.
Jeez.
He said the part of, I don't know if it was the cost for all of it or just, I think it was like 20 something. I'm completely forgetting now, but he brought up the figure $600,000, I think, for a certain number of the surgeries, and you have no idea like whenever something like that might happen, and it's mad.
Yeah.
But I think he had insurance, which was good. So,
Possibly.
Yeah,
that'll bankrupt.
It's the healthcare system in the U.S. It's I think we have some of the best health options, the best doctors, etc. in the world, but I think the system is intrinsically flawed. And it's a constant struggle between both of these parties figuring out how to balance that.
It is.
And
that's one of the...
Go ahead. That was it.
Yeah, you hit the nail right there. That's one of the biggest things that you have to contend with later on, especially when you're young. It's not a big deal. I remember when I was, in my early 20s, I didn't care. I like saw a doctor once every 3 years or something. I'm like, whatever. Like, I guess I was lucky that way, but it was, it wasn't even on my mind. And now it's, it's a bigger thing when you have dependents and stuff. And so if you can make it work doing what you're doing, that's awesome. But life does creep up on you, and it happens fast. So it's a juggling act.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's where the whole live to work versus work to live balance comes in. Like right now, I'm totally working to live. I'm fortunate. I'm not, I'm not like completely struggling, but there is that work to live aspect, and I think that work to live is creeping up into so many strata of society where it's only the top 1% of the 1% totally escape that. And so we all want it to be a live to work situation, or I'm sorry, work to live. So I'm living to work, whereas you want it to be a work to live, where you just work when you need money, and you can devote time to your hobbies and stuff, in your free time, which is ultimately where all of us want to be. I mean, we do. Like, life is awesome when you can be that, so it's a trick getting to that level. And that's really the crux of that whole conversation. It's the point of that whole thing is, how do you do that? How do you get to that level where you can, you can plan your life out that it's that way where you're actually just, working to live.
I think sometimes you forget how far you've come as well, because we're humans, so we have quite terrible memories. But
yes, we do.
But you don't remember all the countless hours and the struggles and the mental breakdowns and all the individual things that you've done to try and build up where you are now. And I think this partly ties into imposter syndrome as well, I guess, because you can't visualize the effort you've put in. You look at what you have and you think, okay, it could just disappear in a minute because it didn't take that long to build up. In reality, it did. You've got a lot of foundations there. But I guess that's another struggle that I guess a lot of YouTubers deal with.
They do. And you guys have all worked your butts off for it, man. I mean, honestly, all the work you guys are putting in, like, I see it. I know what it takes to do this, and I see like how the volume of stuff that you guys are releasing, and I'm like, these guys aren't sleeping.
Yeah.
And if they are, they're probably not sleeping well.
Yeah.
Sleep's important. I've learned that by not sleeping. I was like, I'll take the hit, get my full 8 hours, and then just be productive all day and not groggy, falling asleep.
Yeah.
You've got to have a certain amount of willpower as well to get through it, I think.
Lots of coffee.
I found that coffee actually makes it worse for me, just personally, because it spikes up my anxiety levels.
The troughs as well. When you're like, oh god, I need another coffee. If I don't drink caffeine ever, then I have a pretty level energy level. But if I'm drinking coffee, then I've ruined it.
Yeah.
Well, I've gone about 2 weeks now without coffee, and I can't believe I've done it. And it's
well
not for the best, but man, like, I know that first cup of coffee I finish is I'm gonna be like I'm gonna be like Beavis and Butthead, and I'm gonna be like that episode of Cornholio. It's gonna go crazy, man. I'm gonna be like tweaking. I know it.
I've been
but like CG, you're like releasing a video every day, or so it seems like. I don't know how you're pulling that off,
guess
man. But
doesn't feel like I'm putting in that much work, but I guess I am. I'm trying to find a way to make editing not boring, what everybody does is they like listen to a podcast or something. But I'm trying to find something even better. So I'm trying to find like people who are also working remotely and just doing a bunch of all-nighters together. So it's actually like fun. I don't know does anybody here do anything fun while they're editing, or is it just boring?
It's boring. I'll listen to music or watch a video. Do you guys rewatch your videos fully? Or are you just confident with what you've recorded and then just
do I don't even watch them when I'm done. I'm like,
because I'm confident in what I recorded. I used to, but now I kind of know. I can feel it out and then just know I'll throw it in.
Whenever I'm done editing a video, I always do one proof watch of it. It's just because I'm anxious that I've made a terrible mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I always think
I look for the points where the thumbs downs are going to come, and I look for the points where the trolls are going to come into my videos on my comment section. And then I usually just, at that point, I don't even change it. I just throw it up, and I'll be like, let's see what happens now. Sorry, Erin, you were saying?
So I always have to go back through, because if you've mentioned something in a video where you're like, oh, I'm going to put this in the description.
Yeah.
I hate when I'm watching a video and someone's like, oh, there's a link to this thing in the description. And you go and look and it's not there. And you just can't for the life of you find it either.
I've made those mistakes. It's the only thing. I'll forget to put something in the description.
Yeah, I find that editing is taking me longer and longer now that I'm doing I'm I found the best way to make a video was honestly just like recording myself doing the thing, and then scripting it out, like watching the video of me doing it, hitting all the major points, scripting that out, and then reading the script and then editing it together. And I'm like, that's the only way right now I have time to actually make any videos, and it works for me. But it's not as organic as it used to be when I used to just record myself talking through doing something. And I kind of enjoy doing that, but I lost the time. Like I don't physically have that time to do that right now. So I have to do it this way. So I can like record myself doing something, and then like 3 days later go back to it, and I can like script it out, and then like a day later I can record, myself reading the script, and then I can edit it together. So like that's the only way it's working for me right now. And I kind of learned that, watching when Ian and CG blew up, and it seemed to be the way they were running it. And I'm like, and I tried it, and I was like, this totally works. Like I can actually create videos, and I can keep it kind of going. And because the other way I was just running out of time doing it that way. Like it was faster to go through it once, but I don't have the time to sit there and do like a 40-minute video and then edit it down. So it's because I don't have that quiet time. I have people screaming all over the place. I can't do it. I can't get quiet.
Just get one of your kids to do the voice recording, the narration.
Yeah,
I
should do that. Exactly. If I came over here and guess that, and then shut up. That's exactly what it would be. Yeah, it would be. It would probably be the highest rated. I probably should do that. Probably should just get one of my kids to do a video. Yeah. Probably would be, actually. I could have them read it. That'd be kind of funny.
I think mood has a lot to do with our productivity as well. So everyone should have a good diet, which I keep telling CG because he usually has a terrible diet.
Have a great diet. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you still have
Burger
carrots?
The best diet that's ever existed.
Are you still eating carrots because you had a stupid amount of them?
Yes, and broccoli.
Okay.
Like a donkey.
That's a superfood. That's the top of the food pyramid, or bottom.
Yeah, I like both.
Yeah.
Both are really good.
My mood hasn't been great this year. Not necessarily my fault, I think, but I'm still struggling with like those breathing issues and stuff, which started 129 days ago, to be specific, because I'm now tracking everything religiously. No one can find a reason for it. I've been through so many tests. There is no reason for it to exist. And there's multiple things that make it worse. For example, an empty stomach makes it worse. Certain types of food make it worse after a delay as well. Not too sure why. So wonder if it's like an autoimmune issue or like a nerve thing or a cell transmission thing. Not too sure. Lungs are fine. Inside stomach, gastric system's fine. No one can figure out why. It seems to be a post-COVID symptom is people's best guess. So
have other people reported that?
Other people have had the same symptom, yeah. I think I think Grant Abbott might have actually had it. I need to check in with him, but he was having it as well. It's you feel like you're short breath, but it doesn't affect your oxygen levels, and it doesn't get worse with exertion. It's not caused by anxiety, and it fluctuates throughout the day, and some days are worse than others. And it's just been really weird because it's like there's no objective evidence for it to exist. So it's just a sensation, like you'll breathe in and then you don't feel like any oxygen's gone in, even though it has. But I spoke to someone from Australia as well, and apparently they've had it, and they know some people that have had it. So maybe we'll hear more about it in the future. But it is annoying.
So does it just feel like you can't fill your lungs properly? Is that?
Yeah, there's two parts to it. So the desire to take breaths. So I don't really know how to describe it.
Making me breathe now.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't breathe for a little while, you get like this mild, I'll call it a burning, but it's more like just an uncomfortable sensation. So that's the first part of it, where you'll breathe in and you'll breathe out, but that'll just be there. Like it's not like it's gone away, it's like it's still there, so you feel like you need to keep breathing. Sometimes that's happening, sometimes it's not. But the second part, which is the main issue, is when you breathe in, it never feels like you get a full breath.
Wow.
Which is just frustrating. Even though
I had that issue before, actually.
Yeah, I've also heard that some people have had it with dietary issues like celiac, which I'm not celiac because I've been tested for that. But it does seem weird. I'm leaning on the side of autoimmune/nerve issue because people don't know, but apparently COVID causes some weird autoimmune responses. And I
It can,
already have an issue because my platelet counts are low. This is a genetic thing with my mum as well, which we think they're being killed off by white blood cells. So we're not, or T cells. We're not too sure. But yeah, it's really interesting. I want to. This is like, this whole thing has made me like obsessively start reading into medical stuff. So I feel like, I don't know, I'm becoming like an impromptu expert in certain fields. It's probably a
Yeah,
really good
maybe.
way to learn new things is just to become like attacked by it and then
Yeah.
Just fear.
yeah. But yeah, no, I just wanted to share that. Like, also just as like a public announcement thing to people that aren't taking COVID seriously because they're young. Even if you're young and you get it mild, you may still come away with a long-term and fairly serious or sinister issue. So do take it seriously. The only symptoms I had were a sore throat and like a little bit of mucus running down my throat. And now I
I've read
have this.
I've read some things where people who are like quite keen cyclists, because I'm a cyclist, so I read like blogs
cool.
and things, and then they were basically saying that they, like 22, 23-year-olds, were ending up with like 2/3 the amount of oxygen intake post COVID, and they were basically just ruining their cycling careers, so they just had to stop being
Damn.
professional cyclists at that point.
Man.
Even though they had like a bit of a sore throat, that's it. They'll never be able to be a professional athlete now because of COVID, which is just crazy.
Yeah, I
There are
feel
people
like,
getting strokes too.
yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like one of the issues, and I don't really want to call it like a failure of the medical system or the government or whatever, but they weren't giving out enough information. Like they said, okay, if you have COVID, these are the symptoms you have. It's like you will have, you know, blah, blah, blah. It would be like 3 symptoms. And they'd be like, it causes pneumonia. And like, as if that's the only thing it causes. It's nothing
Yeah.
like that now. I mean, yeah, okay, so it exposes you to pneumonia. That's not the only thing it causes. It can get all up weird in the capillaries, and apparently it can pass the blood-brain barrier as well, so it can transfer itself to the brain, so it can cause neurological damage, which is where, you know, strokes and stuff. So apparently it can do like anything. There's like a whole
Yeah.
It causes
host.
clotting as well.
Yeah, clotting. So there's
Clotting,
like a whole host of weird post-COVID symptoms, they're calling them. So this is apparently maybe one of them. So people need to be aware
it's a
about it.
really nasty. It's a nasty bug. We don't know much about it. We haven't had time to study it because it's novel. And people are like, oh well, it's just, you know, they take the first medical or the first, you know, scientific study and they use that to baseline everything. And it's like, we don't know anything about this. So why be cavalier about this? Oh well, they survived it. They're perfectly fine. You don't know they're perfectly fine. You know, it's like chickenpox. Like you have chickenpox. I remember we used to have chickenpox parties.
Yeah.
Like our parents would go and intentionally get us, you know, infected with chickenpox at our neighbor's house, and nobody knew of shingles. Nobody knew it was linked to shingles back then. And then all of a sudden, like, you know, adults are getting these like super painful outbreaks of this like horrendous, you know, shingles episodes. And you're like, oh well, we should have not had chickenpox when we were younger. Well, our parents were like, yeah, let's get everybody infected with chickenpox because you can't get it again once you have it. It's like, no, you don't know how long it's sitting in your body, what it's doing, and you know where it's gonna pop up next.
Yeah.
Shingles can blind you as well. So,
I heard that. Yeah, it's freaky. Ugh.
but I saw, did you
Like,
see
don't
any of the COVID parties?
Oh my
People
god.
were having
I've-
COVID parties.
It's
Yes.
mostly Americans, our ignorant culture.
Sorry to
No
say.
one-
It is.
No one cares, unfortunately.
Yeah, they think that they're like superhuman or something. That they're not going to get it, or if they get it, it's mild. It's no big deal. This is for old people or something. I'm like, Curtis, you're like, I mean, your PSA right now should be broadcast on
Yeah.
billboards all over the planet. Like, don't
Yeah.
mess with this.
If you have COVID and you get over
Well.
it, just because you can't feel a change doesn't mean there hasn't been one. You know, that you just can't
Yeah.
see. So, God, I don't know. It is just kind of depressing to see.
It's gonna keep getting worse because my university starts back in 8 days for my last semester. I give them 4 weeks before they're shut down, and that's being generous.
Yeah.
Because I think like 70 kids already moved in to on-campus housing with COVID after their test came back. That's before the semester even started. And for what we have like
Wow.
50,000 kids at our university, I give them
Yeah.
2 to 4 weeks. It's
Yeah.
just gonna get worse, in my opinion, until it's taken more seriously.
If we're going to turn this into an actual PSA, I'll clear up some more misconceptions. Just because you've gotten over it doesn't mean you're immune. Again, not everyone generates antibodies. You may have a strong T cell response that kills off the virus before antibodies can be made, which means you're still not immune from getting it again. And you know that your T cell count as well is not consistent. So if you have a strong infection of something else, that can lower it. So you'll be more susceptible from having a stronger reaction to it again in the future. Like if you get it a short time afterwards. So you're still not safe. Also, if you do get over it by like a T cell instead of an antibody, then you won't register on the antibody tests. So you won't know if you've had it specifically. Because if you have an antibody test and it says negative, you immediately think, oh, well, that means I haven't had it. That's not necessarily true. Your body might have just fought it off, just naturally.
Yep.
So that's another thing to keep in mind, because people are really relying on those test results. There's also certain types of, like, certain tests look for certain proteins as well. And apparently there's like a whole variety you can look for. So no data is completely accurate. That's just something to be aware of.
Yeah. It's definitely not something to joke about or be cavalier about. I mean, we just don't know, and there's no reason to to not take precautions now. Like, yeah, suck it up for 6 months of your life if you can. Like, I really feel for the people who have to be on the front lines or people who lose their jobs. Man, like, that's just horrible. I don't know an answer to that, but hopefully everybody can stay healthy and not get this thing, because we don't know what it does long term.
Yeah, just the long term that's important as well. Like, you don't know in 10 years or 20 years, what that is going to do. And also, like, when we get the inoculations for it, the vaccines for it, you don't know what the long term effects of those is going to be either. So it's just like, it's just a bad deal, really.
There are groups. There are groups of people popping up now, like support groups for long-term symptoms, which I haven't looked into, but probably should. But I did have a look on an NHS help page. But for me, it's useless, because when you look at like a breathlessness section, all the advice they give you for is traditional breathlessness. So like your lungs aren't getting the right oxygen because you've had fibrosis or something, and now like it's worse for exertion. None of that applies. Like, because this is like a symptom that no one's ever heard of before, no one's writing about it, even if people are having it. And like, you can't look it up because all the results you get are for like the traditional version. Oh, it's caused by X, Y, or Z. Well, none of that applies. So it's almost like we'll need new terminology for like certain branches of symptoms that happen, because it's just such a weird and new thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a question actually while you're all here.
Sure.
What is the value of, so just before, how many of you have been to university?
Oh yeah, still in it, almost done.
Okay, so
Okay,
Curtis
what?
and Kev, did you go to university?
Yes, I went through undergrad, and then I did art school in between undergrad and graduate, and then I did graduate.
Okay. Do you think that university is worth it? Because I've just finished my degree as of last Friday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, nice.
And I just think it's not worth it.
I'm hopping in after Kev.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. It is worth it for certain things. If you want to have the key that unlocks a lot of doors, like you basically want the skeleton key, having a undergrad degree, like a bachelor degree or whatever, is that skeleton key. That's going to unlock a lot more doors for you, should you want to pursue certain things, like jobs in corporations, or a lot of things require college degrees now. A lot of jobs. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you're good at it, and you can sell courses or you can sell widgets or whatever, you're really good at it, then no, you don't need college at all. It's not. And if you want to be a 3D artist, I know quite a few who don't have college at all and made it, have made it in this field. So it kind of depends on your drive, on your motivation, and how good you are for certain things. But having a college degree definitely does. It for me, it's unlocked a lot of doors, especially the current job I'm now, where I'm not in the entertainment field, but I'm doing 3D every single day. I'm a professional 3D generalist, and college got me into that. The fact that I had a degree or multiple degrees got me in the door. Like, you can't get in the door in my company right now without a college degree, even 3D animation. So if you want to work in like Hollywood or visual effect houses, I don't think college really matters. I don't think they look for that. But if you want to work outside of that industry and in engineering or other fields, then a lot of these companies look, that you have to have that as a baseline to even get a call back. So for that, it's worth it. But again, it depends really what you want to do with yourself. Like, I don't recommend college for everybody. It's not for everybody. You shouldn't have to have a degree if you want to do something that doesn't require a degree. It should be for specific circumstance, specific goals.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yep.
I think
It's largely subjective, as Kev has said. I can tell you right now, the quality of just pure education, just, the instruction I've received over my 4 years is subpar and honestly shameful. Most professors are teaching not because they want to teach, but because they're getting paid and they want to do their research. They want funding for their research. And they're very talented at their subject, but either one, they can't teach, two, they don't want to. I had a professor one day say, just, seemed annoyed the first day. Was like, I'm only here because I'm getting, my research is getting funded. That's just what they said at first. And I was like, oh, great, here we go. One of those.
Yeah. Yep.
I found, so yeah, that's for pure education for me. It's been a joke. I'm doing math. I've taught myself through almost every single class, just watching YouTube videos. Some professors were good, helpful at their office, good at teaching, and cared. I'd say that was about 10% of my entire experience, which is shameful. And not to mention, I've had so many incompetent staff that have just messed things up. But without being too pessimistic about everything, I think the resources have been very invaluable to me. They've been plenty of resources for me, plenty of, if someone chooses to go into a career, there are so many resources set up for people to get into that. Because, a lot of people go to college, most of them not with an entrepreneurial mindset, but to go and get a job and work for someone. And maybe one day they'll work for themselves, who knows. But most people going to college are going to get a job. So the resources can be invaluable to them. For what I personally want to do and, work for myself and build something up online, I don't take advantage of those as much, but they're there. That's good. Discipline and work management, work ethic, I've learned a lot from that. With my degree specifically, analytical thinking, when you might have all taken math classes and your teachers have always said, it's not for you to remember this stuff, it's to teach you how to think. And I always thought that was just BS they filled in, but I've actually have a way more analytical approach after, doing my degree for 4 years, and it's translated to 3D as well. Social life, social skills, and that has helped. I've met some of the best friends over my time in school. And for all I know, this YouTube thing wouldn't be working out if it weren't for school, because school has largely given me the free time to do what I want, because I'm fortunate enough to not have to be working to pay for schooling right now. So there's that. But also, that's me specifically, and every single person has a different circumstance. And there's the traditional jobs, a lawyer, doctor, whatever. You go to school for that. But the days of having to go to school and being laughed at if you don't are definitely gone. And it does not matter either way. So that's about it.
I think that's a good.
I just want to
takeaway.
add, I have like a carbon copy of Josh's thing. Oh fuck!
Same experience.
Is it back testing? Okay, it's back. I have a carbon copy. Also math degree. Also same thing with the professors, kind of, and it does teach you how to think. Now for me, of course, none of what I do has anything to do with a degree, right? But maybe I wouldn't understand how to use Blender or how to communicate effectively without it. You know, I'm supposed to be going into jobs about teaching math or maybe actuarial or coding stuff.
Yeah.
And not doing that.
Like a different
But
approach.
if you know, one day all this falls apart, I will. Hopefully, I'll be able to fall back on having a degree for applying to stuff, etc. But for now, it's not, you know, technically necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I didn't go to uni because I didn't think it was necessary, but that was specific for my circumstance. I mean, first of all, I'm quite lucky. In my family, we have means. You know, not a lot of the people I went to school with were quite so lucky with their upbringing. So my parents offered to pay off all of the uni fees immediately. Like that was not an issue. So it said you could do that if you want to. And I was interested in doing game development because I think I had more of like entrepreneurial interests. It wasn't the only thing that I wanted to do, but I figured that would be the fastest way to make a lot of money. And I still think it is. Game development is the fastest way to make a lot of money. But
Can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that with my brother. We had a company. It can be, or it cannot be.
So, I wasn't the only one that wanted to go into game development, but I knew a lot of how to do it already. And it would have been 3 years, and I can't remember, like 9 to 12 grand. I think it was 9 grand. And so I said to my parents, it's not worth it. So I took a year off, made a game, put it on Steam, made all my money back in the same year. So that was worth it, year one. But I know people that have gone ahead and done those courses and struggled to get anything afterwards, after that 3 year time period and spending all that money. So it's not worth it for that. But that's a specifically creative technical field. And that's one where the jobs are uncertain afterwards, because game development is a fast changing field. It sort of swells and declines. And if you're keeping up with the gaming industry, you know that a lot of people are being laid off. And there's all these like crunch time controversies. And to be honest, game development has actually done fairly well with COVID in terms of like maintaining productivity, because a lot of the stuff can be done from home, but there is a transition period. But it hasn't been very friendly towards people that go to uni for that sort of thing, necessarily. Yep. So, I mean, I predicted that before I agreed to it, and so I made that choice, and I'm happy that I did, because I guess I probably wouldn't be doing this now. But again, for people that have other means and other situations, maybe going and doing that and just having a few contacts would make all the difference for them. But it's hard to know, because especially when there's fields with so much competition like that, where it's creativity blending into technical, and people prefer you if you've done your own projects on the side, because it shows that you have some degree of independence and independent thinking. I think having a good balance is definitely essential. And I was about to say something important, but I've completely forgotten it. Like, damn it. I felt like this is also something that's just been happening recently, just clouded brain. You're holding it there and it just goes. Anyway, yeah, never mind. That's my 2 cents.
It's all about happiness, in my opinion. Don't do the route that makes you sad. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And I'll be right back. Go ahead.
Yeah, the happiness thing is definitely key. I mean, you wanna, you know, I've been fortunate enough to be able to take hobbies and make them into careers. Not songwriting. That would be awesome. But no, like 3D photography, teaching, like it's great. It's wonderful. But uni isn't going to just give you that. Like, you have to work at it too. So if you're a hustler, you're going to do well no matter what. But if you think, you know, a lot of people think, well, I went to college, so now they owe me a job. It's like, no.
I think no. I started working during my second year, and I took a unit which allowed me to. So I don't know how it's laid up in America, but we have like 120 credits per year, and each unit is usually 30 credits. So you would do four of them. And I had one of my 30 credit units I was allowed to work instead and submit just working a job for credit as long as it was in a related field. And my degree is interior design. So I went to work for a retail designer.
Cool.
But I've been working since, I worked full time for 6 months, and then I've done freelance alongside university this year. And then I'm doing freelance now as well. But I just found like university it's given me the free time to do stuff that is interesting, because you can do a degree with like 5 hours a week. That's not a problem. I mean, at least in my degree, I'm not sure about maths, but it's not like a big commitment. So it gives you the time to pursue your hobbies on the side. But the cost of it, I know it's nothing compared to American universities either. Like I've got 4 years of debt, and that's only like 60,000. And I know that you could get that easily in a year over there.
A year? Oh yeah. Even state schools now, it's getting really expensive. So,
Oh really?
Oh yeah, you can burn through that quite easily. That's why I think people who can go, if you can do most of your required courses at a local level, like at a city college or a 2-year college, and then you can matriculate up to a 4-year degree from a major university. If you can handle that, you'd save a lot of money doing it that way. Like I recommend that to people if they can do that. Save a lot of money doing that. I know colleges don't like you doing that, or universities don't like. They want you to do the full ride there, but
It's because
they've gotten so expensive. What's that?
It's because they just want your money. That's it.
Yeah.
They do.
Erin,
they want your money.
Erin, you mentioned time there as well, like time investment and having free time. I think that's an important point as well, because my parents afforded me time, like to work on my own interests, starting my own business type stuff, because they believe in that. And the reason they believe in that is because my dad did it. Because my dad wanted to be a special effects man, after watching Star Wars and all that. And he really tried for it, and it wasn't a smooth ride. And I don't want to call them out, but his parents weren't exactly on board with it. They don't watch YouTube. But so he knows what it's like, aiming for something, having people not believe in you, and then working and then getting it, right? So they've always been very like, if you or your brother want to do something, you can do it, and we'll try and help with that. So I was afforded time other people won't be, and I think that if I hadn't been given that time, then I wouldn't be doing this, because that there's certain types of families that are like, the day you get out of school, you better have a job, And I don't think that's necessarily a healthy...
Or you go to the military.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily a healthy thing, because something that we alluded to last week, I think that the recording's buggered for, is that we had a conversation where we said with like game technology and stuff, every year there's so many more things that are made. There's so much more ground for new people to cover in terms of understanding and learning. So it becomes harder and harder. Things require more and more time to learn about. And you think, well, someone coming out of high school or secondary school, how do they know like what they want to do? They need time to like understand what's changed in the world or the industry that they're interested in, and they need time to make a decision. So I think people need a bit of time off with themselves just to try and figure things out, because especially when you're coming out of school, you've been told what to do the whole time almost. Okay, so you have a little bit of a little bit of say in maybe what subjects you want to specialize in, but it's still an institution. They're almost wiping your ass pretty much every day. So I think people need some time just to get to grips with the world, their world, how they feel about it, so then they can make decisions. So I think time is very important, and I'm very glad that I was given some.
Time is important. There should be way less pressure and more encouragement, especially from parents and professors. I've literally know people that were suicidal because of their pressure for school.
Yeah,
it should never get to that point, ever.
Yeah,
it is not that important, and it's not. it's because they've been, their self-esteem has been destroyed by this constant pressure and, you know, expectations from people rather than encouragement. And fortunately, I haven't, you know, I believe in myself in equally as much as, you know, family and friends do, but not everyone has that. And I wish more people did. There should be more encouragement. And if you fail, less attacks on you.
Yeah.
I failed plenty in college. I failed probably 3 classes, and I'm talking Fs. And it's never happened before in my life. But has it affected me really? No. If I want to do this, does it matter? No. I retook it. Actually, I retook all 3 and got Bs. Grade forget it doesn't matter.
Yeah, about failing.
Yeah.
I mentioned this in the chat in your live stream as well, Josh, that I said people should be aware that if you want to do your own thing, you need to be prepared to embrace failure. Because in school, you're taught that failure is a bad thing, right? So, you got a bad grade, you need to work harder. Or, you know, you did a bad grade.
Which might be true, but...
Yeah. Or, like, you did a bad grade, therefore this, that, and the other. Like, it's now become a label for you. You weren't paying attention, you know... Benefit of the doubt isn't given that maybe they had like an attention problem or whatever. It's, you know, you're taught that if you're a lower grade, you come at a lower value than people that are higher grades, right? So you'd never fail. That's like the message that you pick up. In the real world, especially if you're doing entrepreneurial things, that's bullshit. Because by failing, you bump into the most important lessons that you'll ever learn, like on how to succeed. By failing, you know what you shouldn't do. The more that you succeed without failing in a row, you're just avoiding all these, you're avoiding all the catastrophic things that could go wrong, and now you don't know how to fight against them. Like, you know, like asteroids skimming past Earth. You're just basically walking in a path, and you've got like all these arrows going everywhere. One day, if that hits you, you're not going to know what to do with it, and you've got so much more to lose now. So if you have time, ideally, you want to hit as many of those roadblocks as possible to build up a tolerance and like wisdom and an understanding of how to deal with issues, so you can actually take your ideas further without making so many mistakes. So I think being able to embrace failure and knowing how to use it to pull information from it and then actually do something useful with it, that's essential. Some people crumple under failure because they think it's so embarrassing. They're like, okay, I failed, never going to touch that again, let's run away from it. And they don't learn anything.
Yeah.
And those are exactly the people whose businesses fail and they never try anything again, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the education system really shows up, because the way that the criteria that you are judging people by, it's like you're literally putting numbers to people's value.
Yeah.
And that's so problematic, because as soon as you're working at like, I don't know, if like a first class degree is at 70% and a 2-1 and then a 2-2 is like 10% each time. But then what if you're working at like 55% and that's the best you can do? That's you doing your best, and you're going to be like marked as like you're valuable, or you're less valuable than all of these other students, and you're in direct competition with them. It's so problematic, I find.
That is problematic, because different people will excel at different things and fail at different things. And to mark everybody, to put everybody in the same boat and say, all right, here, this is the only oar you can ever use to row this boat, and this is the only type of boat that's going to get you across the lake. It's like, no, it's not. You know, you work styles and learning styles are so diverse, and people can pull off the most amazing stuff. And like, I watch people, you know, I watch different people on my team have totally different ways of working, but they always arrive at the same, the same place. They just get there in different ways. You know, the ways that they're best at, and we just let them do that because the end result is awesome. We get the shots done, we get the show done, and everything is great. I don't care how somebody's doing the work. You know, if the end result looks really great, it's fine. When I was a lead for a number of years, and I would tell my team, like, you know, if you want to come in at 10 o'clock in the morning and stay till 9 o'clock at night, that's fine. Whenever you work best, just get the shots done, and they would do that. And they would just get the shots done, and it was awesome. And I would let them work however they wanted. If they wanted to work in 3D Studio Max instead of Maya, I didn't care. I'm like, if you can FBX it into Maya for the final integration, great. Work in Max. You know, working well, at the time, Blender wasn't a thing. I mean, it wasn't really viable yet, but I would have been like working Blender. I don't, you know, so you can't, like, universities will measure everybody by the same rubric, and you can't measure everybody by the same rubric. It's not efficient. You need to have different rubrics for different types of people and learning styles and work ethics and backgrounds and all sorts of stuff, because if you force everybody into the same rubric, you're missing out. And that's why having a diverse workforce it makes you really strong, because you have, you know, strengths in all these different disciplines that come together and form awesome results. Whereas if you have a homogenous, you know, just one lane for everything, and you force everybody into that, you're on the road to disaster. And I think we're seeing that in society on the grand scale. We're seeing that break down because it's not efficient. It's not true to life. Life is diverse. We didn't become human beings, you know, all staying in the same lane doing the same thing. We became human beings. We got this amazing ability to rise to the top of the food chain on this planet by a number of different diverse circumstances and environments and things that you know that were beyond our control. And if we were all forced to stay in the same lane, I don't even think we would have evolved.
That's such a good
We
point
wouldn't be
about
as
it
strong.
being such good about being like teamwork and collaborating. That your team is always strong, and everybody has their own like their workflow, and collaboratively you end up at amazing results. And
Yeah.
that's something else that school doesn't measure you by, really. It doesn't measure your ability to work in a team or to contribute the thing that you're amazing at. It's just like, are you generally, can you toe the line? Is all it's really measuring.
And,
Exactly. And the real world doesn't really work that way. And I think we're learning that.
It's
And
like
it's just, yeah.
I think it's like the institution or the educational institutions. A lot of it kind of wants to funnel you into one shape. You know, like when you're, I mean, it's a basic lesson that you learn as a kid, right? When you're in preschool or whatever. You remember that game you would play where you'd have like a triangle and a circle and you have to fit them into the right slots, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very simple. Like some people don't fit in the right in a certain slot, but people work well in different ways. Some people, I think there's definitely a lot of truth between people being naturally extroverted and introverted, and I do think there's some biological factors in like an inclination towards creativity and intelligence and otherwise. I think most of it is environmental, you know, and learning, but I think there are very genetic factors that are involved there as well. But with all that considered, I don't think it's successful funneling people into the same procedure and making them all work in a very specific way. Like, some people despise open plan offices, right? Not that they don't like people, but because they just feel like it's too overwhelming and they can't focus on the work. And maybe even like as a strange side effect, that they're less capable of working as a team when they're surrounded by people all the time because they've wasted all their energy just trying to like sustain working there. So I think some consideration needs to be made there. It was quite funny. Someone I don't know from the audience emailed me, and we had a nice chat. And they said, like, yeah, I think we share a lot of like ideas in common. I hate the idea of open plan offices. I was like, oh my god, me too. Yeah, it's so weird. I love little interactions like that with people. But that's one of the things that I hated about school. Like they forcing you to do certain things, work in certain times, and I don't know. I've got so many things to say about it.
They group everyone into one into one category. It's like with me, I enjoy socializing, but I'm very introverted and I feel mentally drained after too much social interaction.
Yeah.
Like I'm not as productive anymore. It's almost the same mental drain that you might feel physically after a good workout. And there's plenty of people, like business people, that if they don't have interaction, they feel the same way. They have to, you know, socialize 24/7. And I don't like this forcing everyone into one category. Oh, you all need to interact all day, or you all need to do individual work all day. And it should be accustomed to how people's personality types are. That's where I think most productivity comes in.
there was a nice video where Ton was showing around the Blender offices when they were new, the new ones.
Mhm.
And it was quite funny because like when he was walking around, some people were like, there was a few people in a room together working, and then there was one person, I forgot the name of who it was, but they went into his room. They were like, "Shh, he works in here by himself because he doesn't like to be disturbed." And I like that because it felt like it was a creative, open environment. Like if you don't want to be disturbed, you can have your own room,
Yep.
and if you do, then
That's-
you can have your own. So that was cool.
Yeah. A lot of the visual effects facilities are all seem to be open plan offices, and
Yeah.
we found where we are that we have offices and we're more productive that way, and we have common areas where we can interact, but we all basically can go to our own quiet places and just put our heads down and work,
Yeah.
and we're more productive that way.
That reminds me, I went for an interview for a game company, and their office was split into, I think, 2 or 3 main sections. But one of them where the creative work was done was open plan, and I was like, oh no, I don't like this. But they took me for a tour around the office, and then they had a quiet area for like where all the admin and stuff was done, and I was like, yes, this is much better. Like all the lights were low, and it was just people doing all the admin stuff, and I was like, can I do that work in here? Like, is that possible? Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we have that. We found that one of our groups has an open plan, and we just decided never to go that way. Even just setting up cubicles, we can use cubicles so you can have some semblance of privacy.
Yeah.
And people are just more productive when they feel like they have their own little workspace to go. Some people love the collaboration, but you can't force everybody into that. It just doesn't work.